What is up, guys? I'm Williams, aka TheSwolefessor, here to educate you on health and social well-being. And today, guys, I'm going to be giving you guys a few tips over how to maximize growth in your chest, how to maximize that hypertrophy, that hypertrophy in your chest gains. No, but seriously, I'm doing this because after I did my last video, which was similar over the back, which I will have linked in the description down below, a lot of you asked me to go over the chest because you feel that I have a decently developed chest, which once again, only reason why I'm shirtless, you guys know I only do like get shirtless like this when I'm either in a really hot gym or when I'm trying to show you guys kind of what I'm working with, so you know that I'm not just talking out of my butt, that I do have decent chest development. And once again, it's early in the morning, just woke up, all I did was comb my hair, no push-ups, no workout. I'm trying to be very transparent so you guys can kind of see like just what I look like normally walking around, if I would walk around with that shirt. Anyway, getting right into it. Before I start, disclaimer as always, guys, understand that the way that my chest is shaped, like every other muscle group on every individual, is genetic. There's nothing you can do. I cannot emphasize that enough. There's nothing you can do to change the shape of your muscles or where they insert. All you can do is get them bigger. That's it. And that's the tips that I'm going to be giving you guys to help you out. So, getting right into it. Tip number one, guys, is going to be to fix your bench press. Now, I'll have my tutorial on how to bench press properly for strength and hypertrophy, true strength and hypertrophy, in the description box down below. And why do I say that? Well, the reason I say that, guys, the reason I say you guys all need to fix your bench is because there's this huge thing going around that people always say, like, oh, the bench press isn't really a great exercise for chest, or I don't really feel it in my chest. And you guys already know that I've gone over the whole how important it really is to feel something, how yes, it's good, the mind and muscle connection is a great tool to utilize, but how it's not the ultimate determining factor if your muscle grows or not. If you're putting that muscle through a full range of motion, progressively overloading, then it will grow. It has no choice but to grow. And the fact is, the bench press is a chest dominant movement, so your chest is involved no matter what. You can't take your chest out of the bench press. With that being said, what I mean by correcting it is a few things. One, a lot of people, once again, will say that it's not effective movement, and they always like to use powerlifters such as myself as an example. Not specifically me, but they'll say things like, well, hey man, if the bench press is such a great movement, if you get strong in it, why do you see all these powerlifters lifting 300-400 plus pounds and yet their chests aren't that great, aren't that well developed? Well, guys, aside from one, just genetics, some people just don't have great chest genetics in general, the reality is, one, like I said, a lot of them, yes, they bench, and they bench well, they bench heavy for just strength, but they don't necessarily train with more volume than that. Not all powerlifters train the same way as I do. They try to still add in their volume work. But the main thing is, guys, yes, they're benching a lot, but you have to look at why. There's a huge difference in being able to bench 315 pounds because you have gotten your chest strong enough to be able to go through a full range of motion, lift that weight, versus benching 315 pounds because you have a crazy excessive arch, your hands are extremely wide, and you've cut the range of motion down to where you're only dropping the bar 2 inches and then back up. That's the thing that people have to understand. That's why using powerlifters like that isn't a great example of if the bench is a good or bad exercise for building your chest. You guys have to understand there's a difference between lifting a certain amount of weight because you are strong enough to lift through the full range of motion versus using leverages and cutting the range of motion down. It basically changes the movement as a whole. Of course, only dropping the bar about 2 inches and touching your chest isn't going to do much growth stimulation for your chest because your chest has a full range of motion to go through, and you're not getting that when you do that, which is why you guys notice that even for competitions, I don't do that. I don't have a crazy excessive arch. My grip isn't stupid wide. So fix your bench press. Make sure that, like I said, it's all in the tutorial down below, but make sure that your hand placement isn't excessive. A lot of people have that misconception that the wider you go, the more chest is involved, the closer you go, the more tricep is involved. And that is true. It's kind of like what I explained with the pull-up, guys, that as far as going wide or close, there is almost zero difference in the engagement of your back. The only difference is the closer you are, the more bicep development you're gonna get, which is why it actually makes sense more often than not to go closer. It's the same thing with the bench press. Even though, yes, your triceps are definitely more engaged whenever your hands are closer, your chest doesn't become less engaged because of it. Think about it. If you go wider, you can only come down to here, your chest only gets a certain stretch, right? But if you're closer, you come all the way down here, boom, longer stretch on the chest, come up, stronger contraction. So therefore, it doesn't make sense, the mindset and this idea, which once again, isn't backed by science. There's no evidence or research to suggest this. It's just what people start to do because it just makes sense to them. The wider you go, the more chest activation you're gonna get. And that's just not the case, guys. A longer range of motion is gonna do more work as far as with any muscle growth, as far as just your overall growth. So fix your bench press in the sense of make sure you don't have a crazy excessive arch to cut the range of motion down. Make sure your hand placement has a nice normal shoulder width. That's gonna vary from person to person a little bit. Like I said, it's all in that tutorial down below. Just check that out. So that's tip number one, guys. It's just simply bench press correctly, whether it's flat bench, incline, decline. stop cutting the range of motion down on the movement and stop having this mindset that if you're going really wide, it's working your chest more. So, because of course you're not going to get a lot of growth from it. You're not working the chest as much as you could be with that movement. So that's tip number one, guys. Tip number two is going to be focusing on your presses. Now this may be like common sense to a lot of you, and at this point I hope it would be. Those of you who have been with the channel long enough, I hope it would be. But for those of you who maybe this is your first video you're seeing, or you've not been with the channel as long, haven't caught up on my videos, yes, focus on those compound movements. Once again, I'm not saying not to isolate muscle groups, because that can be good for just extra volume, extra work. But the problem is, if you're coming in doing one pressing motion, then you're just doing an excessive amount of flies, but you're wondering why your chest isn't growing as much as it could be. Now think about it, guys. You're never gonna be able to do as much with a cable fly or a dumbbell fly as you're gonna be able to do on a bench press or incline dumbbell press or weighted dips or a hammer strength machine. You're always gonna be able to move more weight. And once again, if we think about the fact that total volume is determined by your sets times your reps times your weight, well then of course doing 3 sets of 10 with 50 on a fly machine isn't going to be quite as good as doing 3 sets of 10 with 100 on some type of pressing motion. So I'm not telling you to cut out flies altogether. There's nothing wrong with that. I do flies myself on occasion. It's just understanding that you're going to get the most bang for your buck from those compound moves. That's where the majority of your growth in those bigger muscle groups especially is going to come from. So you want to make sure that you're coming in, hitting your presses, do a flat press, some type of incline press, and then maybe either like a decline or weighted dip, something like that, and then finish off with, a variation or two of flies. Or heck, if you want to do more than that, that's fine. My point is coming in and doing just one compound movement for your chest, then a bunch of flies and wondering why your chest isn't growing. Well, there you go. That's probably the main reason why. Tip number 3, guys, is going to be start incorporating calisthenics. Start incorporating push-ups, bodyweight days. Matter of fact, you can dips. My bad, not dates, dips. Matter of fact, you can incorporate push-ups daily, guys. That's something that I definitely suggest doing. You guys already know that I'm big on doing that. Even if you don't have do all of your calisthenic work every day, daily push-ups is gonna, 1, be great for your shoulder health, 2, hit that serratus anterior, which is an area that's hard for the bench to hit just because of the range of motion, and 3, it's just giving you that extra volume. You don't have to kill yourself, but just, if you start one week, okay, 10 push-ups every day, then next week, let's try 11 push-ups every day, and just gradually build it up to start doing push-ups daily. 1, your body will adapt to it, will get used to it. You're not gonna fatigue yourself so much with just push-ups to where you can't bench press or do your weighted chest movements, and 2, it's just gonna give you that extra little bit of volume. I've done this myself. I know several other people have done this and tried this themselves, and once again, there is research and evidence on just how getting that little bit of extra volume can make a big difference in the long term, especially when you consider the fact that weekly volume is a huge determining factor of growth. Of course, progressive overload always being the key, which is why I say, just gradually add more reps. But the fact is, think about it. Even if you are staying around the same rep range with your push-ups, but you're constantly increasing on everything else in your weighted training, but then you still throw those push-ups in, that's still extra volume that's gonna help benefit you a lot. And once again, as I said, guys, from age 11 to 17, before I ever touched weights, all I ever did was calisthenics. And one of the biggest things that really blew up on me, aside from my back from all the pull-ups, was my chest from doing just various different types of push-ups and just getting that extra volume by adding reps upon reps upon reps. So that's my next tip. And then the last tip, guys, and once again, this one, it kind of honestly goes hand in hand with the first tip as far as bench press. And that's understanding, guys, that you cannot get caught up in the mindset of, okay, for example, the wide hammer strength press machine, right? I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, but the wide hammer strength press machine is a great machine. And yes, because of how it's designed, you start out wide and then you come in close, right? But once again, a lot of people take this mindset and think that they need to go wide on everything. Okay, I'm gonna go wider on my dips. I'm gonna go wider on my bench press. I'm gonna go wider on my incline dumbbell press. I'm gonna come out like this, things like that. Once again, guys, you're cutting the range of motion and you're putting a lot of unnecessary pressure on your shoulders. That's the main thing. A lot of people wonder why they feel it so much in their shoulders when they do that. Well, because when you're out here, you're just putting a lot of stress and pressure on your shoulders. You're not even necessarily working the shoulders more, you're just putting a lot of unnecessary pressure on them. So quit cutting the range of motion down. Now I kind of covered this with the bench press already, but I want to emphasize this on all of your pressing motions, especially like on incline dumbbell press, for example. Actually, you know what? Let me go ahead and show you guys an example really quickly. All right, guys, so oftentimes when people are doing incline dumbbell press, you'll see them coming up here and then coming out like this, right? Once again, this is how you see a lot of people doing it. A lot of pressure, once again, on my shoulders, and I'm not getting a full range of motion. Whereas if I come up, come down, tucked, 1, I'm protecting my shoulders more, 2, I'm getting a much longer range of motion. So, up, come down, tucked. Up, come down, tucked. Versus coming down to here, cutting my range of motion. Look at the difference between here and then here. And as you guys have already learned from me, those couple of extra inches make a big difference in the range of motion and make a big difference in overall muscular development. So once again, we're not coming here and here, we're coming up, tucking, protecting our shoulders, getting that long range of motion, and back up. Boom. Boom. Just like so. And that's the last tip, guys. Now, once again, I know this seems like that was kind of repetitive with the first tip. Like I said, the first tip, I don't want you guys to think that just because I was mentioning the range of motion on the bench press, that it doesn't apply to all of your pressing motions. Like that longer range of motion makes a difference. In the same way with the T-bar, bro, how just going from using, 45s to 25s, you feel a little bit more because you're getting that slightly longer range of motion. It's the same concept. But those are my 4 tips, guys, to help you maximize your chest development and your overall chest training. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a comment down below letting me know that you did. If you did not, leave a comment down below letting me know what I can do to get better. Like the video, share, subscribe, keep it simple, specific, scientific. I'll catch y'all later.